about high key photography. Do you not like high key photography? And why do you think that is? Is it because of the white backgrounds? Because I've got a surprise for you. I do high key quite a bit in my photography, but I use it in a subtle way. And sometimes it helps me with difficult to get shots. And in this video, I will show you two techniques that I use in the field to get photos. Hi everyone, hope you're going well. Um, Today's video is going to be about high key photography and how I use it in my photography, particularly bird and wildlife. And so, what is high key photography? High key is when you're shooting and exposing to the right more, and in an effort to create a very bright and cheerful type photo with light tones, white and grey type tones to it, and you're trying not to have dark tones in it. And I will show you and give you some tips on how I apply that to my photography. And so it's actually the opposite really to low key shots, and the sorts of things that I look for low key, I can also use that to do high key, and I just do a different exposure. And quite often I will look at a scene and think, shall I shoot dark or shall I shoot light? And quite often I do shoot dark because you get a lot of contrast in those types of shots. But also with high key, you can add contrast, and quite often I will add contrast with colour. And I'm just going to pop an image up in front of you right now that if you just look at it and just think, you know, what's the contrast in this image, and I'll let you know as I keep talking, and just look at the image and just see if you can work out what I mean by that. So this particular image I got on a day where the sun was up, and it was probably 3 hours after, even more maybe, after the sun had risen, and I wanted to get this black-shouldered kite. But the problem I had is I couldn't get the sun behind me because it was on a road, and I couldn't see the birds. So I only had one option of shooting towards the sun. I could move that way or I could move that way if I wished. And what I did is I moved that way a bit to get this tree behind the bird, and the tree was like a dark green, and you can see it's not dark green in the photo. That's because what I did, because the bird was facing me, so the sun's behind the bird, the front of the bird was darker, so it wasn't white, it was like a grey colour. So straight away I was going to lift up those grey on the bird by bringing my exposure up. And what happened is I just kept pushing the exposure, and it caused the background to go a lot lighter, and also I was getting some nice effect on the bird with the white starting to show nicer, and the red eye was coming out more for me, and I felt that was the contrast. And that just, one of the most fascinating things about the black-shouldered kite is their red eyes. So I was pretty happy with what I was getting. But what I had to watch was the rim light from the sun, so it's only white light, that it didn't spill too much onto the bird. So I was very careful as I was shooting that I just made sure that rim light wasn't overexposing on the edge of the bird. And that's something that quite often is easily done. And so I got my shot, and that's how I used high key. So it wasn't shot on a cloudy day. And so there you go. So straight away, you know that what I was going to say as an introduction was that you don't have to go out on a cloudy day to do high key photography. Yes, it's still go out and do those shots, but I just feel sometimes it's more challenging when you go out and do it in different light, and you can get some really nice photos and you can play a little bit with the light. So don't be afraid to try different things. And I'm just going to talk about how I use high key in a lot of areas of my photography when I'm out there. And most of the time it's because I'm trying to get a photo in difficult circumstances that normally if I just shot with the sun behind me and just went for the same type of style, then I'm not going to get a photo. So I try and be a little bit different and creative. Okay, another type of high key photography that I do is in low light, first light, before the sun comes up. And you can either do that at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day when the sun has sunk. I do it most often at the beginning of the day, and I love to do it in the pink light. I've got so many pink photos, it's unbelievable, but I just enjoy going down there and doing it. And what I find is that sometimes the conditions can be not so good, but I can still do it, but it can be very dark, and sometimes I'll go 3+ stops to get that light. So when you turn up to do it, you know, the light, the pink light's there, and usually it's on one side and the other side is more blue. And so what you do is you position yourself for the pink light and you photograph in that direction, and you keep increasing your exposure. And the trick to it is to go as far as you can to the right, but where you still can see the pink colour, and your histogram will be right over, and it'll go quite a light pink. But what you do when you get it into Lightroom, you darken it a little bit and you'll bring that colour back. And your bird, you must not overexpose the bird either. So it's a real fine technique, but it's not hard. It's just about practicing and just seeing what you can do with the light. And it's something that I've done for a lot of years. And the cameras are so good now that you can use high ISO if you need to. But sometimes, you know, I can get away with ISO around a 3000 or 1600 sometimes if it's a strong light and the sun's getting really close and it's a warmer day or something. Sometimes the light can really vary, and you will see that some of my photos are stronger than others, and it's just working with the light that you've got. The light can be so different from one day to the next, but that's how I use high key. And you can see there's no dark tones in it, but like for instance the yellow-billed spoonbill has a bit of like their black legs and a little bit of around the eye, it's black and things like that, and I will just bring that back a little bit, a bit stronger when I bring it into Lightroom, because that just sort of makes the bird pop when you can see the colours and that. So that's how I use it in low light. And it's so you might shoot wide open with your lens if you know your lens is sharp, and you may try and get a shutter speed of 1600 if you can, and ISO, like for me I will go up to ISO 6400. I mean, it's always ideal to get a lower ISO, but sometimes it's the difference between not getting a shot and getting a shot. You might as well try it and see what you can do, because you're minimising your noise by going brighter anyway, and then if you run it through noise removal, then you've got a nice photo. So give it a go.
Here we go.